Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about how I healed my hormonal acne naturally. I'm going to be taking you through my personal journey, talking about all of the truths that I learned along the way, and then sharing some tips and tricks that I've found to really work for me. Before we go any further, I have to do the disclaimers. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. All the information shared in today's video is based off of my own experience, my own research, and then advice from my personal practitioners who were giving direct tailored advice to me. I'm gonna show you how my skin went from this to this, AKA this. So this is my skin today. As you can see, I have a little bit of scarring and just like healing things that are happening here. But for the most part, we're looking good. That being said, I hope that this video is informative and helpful if you're looking to deepen your relationship with yourself, to understand your body, and to hopefully heal from hormonal acne. It's also important for me to say before we go any further that acne is nothing to be ashamed of, and it should be normalized. You are beautiful, you are valuable, you are worthy of love no matter what your skin looks like. However, acne is not normal. Common, definitely, but not normal. Acne, like a lot of other hormonal symptoms, are an indicator of what's going on inside your body, and that is something that we'll get into later in the video. So now that we have those out of the way, let's get into this video. Starting off with my personal history and my story, I hit puberty around age 13, but it wasn't until about age 15 that I noticed acne starting to appear on my face. I had a slew of other hormonal imbalance indicators. I had really painful periods, so acne wasn't the main problem on my plate to begin with. I didn't really notice it until about midway through 10th grade, I want to say, so age 16. To be honest, I didn't really even notice till I went on birth control around age 16, which I did under the guidance of my doctor for extremely painful periods. Even though I went on the pill for period problems, it definitely helped my skin, and I didn't really have a problem. I was on the pill for about 4 years. After that 4-year period, I was advised by my naturopathic doctor to come off the pill, and so I did that. And when that happened, I began to experience extremely painful and irritated cystic acne. During that time, I wasn't really educated on what the pill does to the body and what can happen when you come off of it. I really was uninformed about hormones or my cycle or anything to do with the female body in general. Coming off the pill basically messed with all my hormones. I got the acne, I got the weight gain, I got all the stuff that they say should actually happen when you go on the pill, I got when I came off of it. Super fun. In 2015, I made the decision to go back onto the birth control pill, and I was on that pill, which was a different one from the first one, for 3.5 years. Even though I went back on the pill specifically for acne, the one that I was on was a lower dosage and it just worked differently than the original pill that I had been on. And so it actually didn't cover up all of my acne. During the latter part of those 3.5 years, I was ramping up to my wedding and I wanted to have flawless skin for my wedding. So I went to a dermatologist and he put me on a half dose of Accutane along with the birth control pill that I was already on, just to completely clear up my skin for the wedding. Even though I had perfect skin, I had wanted to transition off the birth control pill after my wedding because I had done a lot of research and in those 3.5 years learned a ton about the female body. I'd become really passionate about a more natural way of living, and it no longer felt good to me to be putting synthetic hormones in my body. I also had some other symptoms going on, and I began to do my research and find out all of the negative effects that the birth control pill can have on you that your doctor doesn't tell you about. After all of that, about 2 years ago, I came to the conclusion that it was time for me to start to transition off the pill, but this time I wanted to actually look into how to help my body do that in a way that wasn't going to produce insane acne as it had the first time. Around this time, I discovered a book by Dr. Jolene Brighten called Beyond the Pill, and this was kind of a revolutionary turning point for me. She gave me such a good explanation as to what the pill was doing to my body, what would happen if I transitioned off of it just willy-nilly, and so much helpful information about how I could come off of the pill in a way that supported my endocrine system to heal and rehabilitate itself. Dr. Brighten's book for me was the beginning of a personal revolution, so to speak. There was so much information that I had never heard before, and not only that, but a lot of the science that she presented was in direct opposition to most of what women are fed in the media about their body, about their cycle, and definitely about the pill. I do want to say really quickly that this is not an anti-pill video. I don't have that stance personally. She covers it really well in that book if you ever do read it, which I highly recommend. I am not anti-birth control. I am against women not being properly and deeply educated about their bodies, specifically in a way that empowers them to make well-informed decisions. One of the things that Dr. Brighton cleared up for me was the argument of whether or not acne is skin-based or more of an internal situation. And while a lot of acne definitely can be from the transfer of bacteria and the overproduction of sebum and all of those things that your dermatologist will tell you, acne is also an inside issue. It's kind of crazy to me, to be honest, that it's not commonly recognized that what we put into our body affects literally everything in how it functions, especially what comes out on our skin. The truth is that how and what we eat affects our hormones, which affect literally everything. As we know, hormones are messengers that signal the body to perform specific functions. Our skin is the biggest organ in our body. It is made to keep toxic and dangerous things from entering into our system. It can also act as the quickest exit point for toxins in the body that aren't being properly metabolized. So from Dr. Brighton, I learned that there's a very specific way to transition off the birth control pill to help support your system in metabolizing all of the excess synthetic hormones, to expel them, and to support the regeneration and habilitation of your body's natural cycle. From there and through my own research, I was introduced to Elisa Vitti, not quite sure how you say it. She is the author of the books Woman Code and In the Flow. She coined the cycle syncing method, which has changed my entire life. Elisa also helped to put common language to a lot of things that I felt intuitively, but didn't have the science or language to explain. Let's have a quick science moment. We're gonna rewind and just go over the endocrine system. This really helped me set the foundation for my understanding of hormones in general. Your endocrine system is a powerful and complex network of glands that work together to secrete hormones that regulate specific body functions. The hypothalamus, that's a brain structure that kind of acts as command central for your endocrine system. It's about the size of an almond. It receives a steady stream of data about all of your hormone levels throughout your body. Based off of this information, the hypothalamus fires off one of two hormones, either releasing hormone or inhibiting hormone, and it sends those to the pituitary gland, which sits right beneath it. The pituitary gland then goes into immediate action and it sends out chemical messengers, aka hormones, to all the other glands and organs in your endocrine system. The pituitary gland uses a different hormone to communicate with each of them, and you've probably heard about these each in your high school biology class. First, we have thyroid stimulating hormone, which is used to communicate to the thyroid gland. Then we have parathyroid hormone, which is used to communicate with the parathyroid. Someone was really using their creativity when they named all of these. Adrenocorticotropic hormone to the adrenals, and follicle stimulating hormone or luteinizing hormone to the ovaries. So then these target glands interpret the hormone chemical messenger that's been sent from the pituitary gland, and they use that information to either increase or pump the brakes on their hormone production. To simplify, that communication is drastically affected by external factors. So the food we eat, stuff that it's sprayed with, how and even when we eat it, certain chemicals that are in the products that we put on our body that classify as hormone disruptors, toxins that we breathe in our environment, all of these things compound on each other to disrupt this very precise communication system. When this happens, incorrect signals can be sent. The gas pedal can be pressed, the brakes can be pumped on the production of each hormone. And when one is out of whack, it has an effect on all of them. This is where my discovery of the book In the Flow was absolutely revolutionary for me, because I was able to learn about all the different phases of my cycle and the different hormones that are doing their own things during the different phases, and I was able to implement the cycle syncing method and focus on supporting my hormones throughout the different phases of my cycle. Psychologically, this method was extremely helpful for me because as soon as someone says you need to adjust what you're eating or your lifestyle in order to benefit your health in some way, my history and my brain just think restriction, and normally the protocol that gets talked about is not something that I can do. Bless the gods, because this system is more along the lines of crowding in than it is restriction. If you don't know what that means, crowding in essentially is focusing more on the positives and less on the negatives, more about what to add into your diet less about what to remove, more am I getting enough versus am I eating too much, etc. The cycle syncing method is all about understanding the different hormones that are at play during the different phases of your menstrual cycle and how you can best support them through lifestyle and food consumption to make sure that the endocrine communication is functioning at an optimum level and the body comes into a place of balance. So this was the main thing that I started to implement in my life where I really saw a drastic change. Understanding which foods my body needed and when to best support the production of specific hormones in order for my cycle to work well was absolutely transformational in my skin. And I say this because I realized that my acne was caused partially from a few food sensitivities, but also from an imbalance of specific hormones at specific times. I also utilized the concept of Chinese face mapping, which explains the areas of your face that you can break out and what those different areas mean. There's lots of research behind it. Go ahead and Google. I'm not going to get into it too much, but essentially I started paying attention to where on my face I was breaking out and then using those areas as indicators of which hormones were off and why. The thing that I did, completely aside from science, is more of an emotional thing, but I set aside time and I dove into doing the deep work inside myself, finding out what I believe to be true about myself, about my body, about being a woman, all the areas in my life where I was subconsciously operating out of a place of self-rejection and self-hatred. And then I worked to heal my relationship with myself and with my femininity so that I could embrace my design and work with it, maximize its fullest potential as opposed to working against myself. I feel like this video is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to share a few difficult truths that I picked up along the way that coming to terms with them has radically changed my entire disposition and reflected in my skin, and then I'll end with my top tips. So, difficult truth number one is that you cannot cure hormonal acne as a woman. While it may suck to hear that, take a deep breath because the reality is we are cyclical creatures. As women, we can work together with our bodies to balance our hormones and support the overall hormonal health of our bodies. Our hormones are constantly fluctuating based on a lot of different things. Think environment, the foods that we eat, phases of our cycle, stages of life like pregnancy or perimenopause or menopause or puberty. The main idea is that this is a lifetime journey. While you cannot cure it, you can work together with your body to understand where you're at personally, what your specific needs are on a monthly and cyclical basis. In my experience, knowledge is power that empowers you to do the best that you can to support yourself. Difficult truth number two, the more you demonize it, the chances are the worse it will get. The basis of this is that we are empowered to heal when we come from a place of love and acceptance towards ourselves and towards our bodies, and that enables us to work with our design instead of against ourselves. Really quickly, I'm going to give you some of my top tips and things that have helped me personally throughout my acne journey. Number one is see a professional. You can watch a million videos on YouTube. You can spend hours per night on Google. You can literally drain your bank account on skincare. Nothing is going to help you like a professional. Someone that can look at your specific situation, test your blood, test your hormones, get an idea of what's really going on, what the underlying cause is, and create a protocol that is tailored to you. My recommendation is to see both a medical doctor and a naturopathic doctor, or if you can, a functional practitioner. I am of the belief that both Western and natural medicine are absolutely valuable when they are held in balance, and so functional practitioners are an amazing kind of middle ground there. Tip number two, crowd versus restrict. Like I talked about earlier, the idea of adding things in versus trying to take things out can be very helpful psychologically, as well as it allows you to cultivate this mindset of abundance in your life. And this may sound a little bit woo, but I really do believe that positivity and love and affirmation and the concept of abundance is a very powerful thing in helping your body heal. And so the more that you can focus on the positive, on where you're going, on who you are, on how beautiful your design is and how well you can work with that, the easier it is for your body to begin to trust you and to sink into a place of healing, knowing that it's safe and that you're going to support it with everything it needs to get the job done for you. Tip number 3, ditch hormone disruptors. This one is difficult in the world of fancy products and the beauty community and flashy things, right? We want to try it all, we want to have it all, we want to smell like a goddamn flower. Unfortunately, the more that I pulled them out of my routine, the quicker I saw results, and that's simply because it's a practice of supporting my hormone health. So that means body washes, shampoos, cleansers, like all of my skincare is clean and natural. And I understand that a lot of this stuff can be expensive, but also know there's so many recipes of things that you can make that are cheap and clean. Tip number 4, confront your inner dialogue and begin to practice compassion towards yourself. This one was very difficult for me. It's something that I still work on every single day, but the more that you can give yourself grace in the process and kind of remove yourself from that idea of arrival, especially with all of the things that we're looking at 24/7 on social media. I know this is difficult, but comparison and the idea of arrival are extremely toxic to your journey. Something that really helped me in this process was discovering the cycle syncing method and understanding that my body goes through 4 different phases during the course of a month, and they can be anywhere from 3 to 10 days long. So on a difficult day when I was breaking out a ton, especially once I started to see a little bit of victory, if you will, I began personally to notice that I would start breaking out around ovulation and right before my period, but no other time. And so during difficult days, I would tell myself, this isn't forever. It will literally change within a matter of 3 days, within a matter of a week, whatever. Giving yourself grace as your hormones adjust. Know that as a woman, your body is not linear. It will change, and you will have good days and you will have bad days, but the good will always come back around. Tip number 5, educate, educate, educate. Literally, do not take my word for it. Do not take anyone else's word on YouTube or Instagram or Pinterest for truth. Do your own research, see a professional, understand what your specific issues are, and respond accordingly. Tip number 6, and this is the last one, diet really does matter. As much as we want to believe that it doesn't, what we put into our bodies affects the production of all of our hormones, and it also affects what comes out on our skin in terms of toxins or excess hormone that needs to get out. Personally, I switched to decaf coffee. There's a whole thing in the Flow and Beyond the Pill that explain what caffeine does to your cycle. It's just a personal choice, but I did see a lot of improvement after I did that. A lot of people cut out coffee completely. I'm not there yet. Drink tons of water. I personally cut out dairy because I had a bit of a sensitivity to it, and I noticed that I broke out like crazy anytime I ate it. That's it for this video. I know it was a little bit long, but it is a lot of information that I personally haven't heard preached from the rooftops, especially here on YouTube or just on the internet in general. The thing that I hope you take away the most out of this entire video is that the true solution is focusing on holistic health. When I say whole, I mean WHOLE-istic, meaning total body, total life experience. If you think you can just cure acne without evaluating the health of all the other aspects of your life, it's not gonna happen. The good news is, the more in tune with yourself you become, the more information and education that you consume, the more powerful and free you can actually become. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do give it a thumbs up and leave a comment if it was helpful at all for you. I would love to know where you're at on your journey in healing your hormonal acne. I would love to hear things that have worked for you. Please do subscribe if you have not already. I put out new videos every Thursday, and I believe that's it. I will see you in my next video. Bye.